Hey guys, we're going to talk about this OTW Bipod. Really inexpensive $16 bipod. But quick before we do, just want to point out I am doing this kind of tabletop here, and you'll hear my kids in the background. The kids are here. So in the event of any time when you're messing with firearms and your kid, make sure it's safe. So in this case, I've completely removed the bolt from the weapon, and it is, beyond being able to fire. So I do have a 100% safe situation, and that this gun is physically incapable of firing. So always a thing whenever you're using or playing with guns and there's any kids around, take that extra step. Don't just check it. Make sure you're 100%. It's the holidays, guys. So there's your little safety lesson. So like I said, this is about a $16 bipod. You can get through Amazon. It's Amazon Prime, and not a bad little guy for the money. Now, it's kind of funny because I always had like a running argument with my father-in-law when he was still alive about bipods. He was a very firm believer in really expensive bipods. Like Harris bipods were the cheapest ones he ever bought. Some of them I think he had were $200 and $300. He was very into high-end gear, and I have a lot of experience on high-end bipods as well as a result of shooting with him a lot. I, on the other hand, am usually a kind of middle-of-the-road kind of guy. I don't like the cheapest. I don't like the most expensive. But this little $16 one fell my way. And it's actually serviceable. It's something you can use, and it's actually not horrible. And I would definitely recommend it for light-duty use, going to the range, using your .22. I mean, this would take a heavier-duty rifle shot, but in the end, it doesn't have the complicated features that you're going to need to take this hunting and all that, because this is just a stable bipod. So as you can see, like every other bipod on the market, it connects via the sling stud. It also comes with a Picatinny adapter. And you can see it's very simple, very easy. It's literally just a twist knob that tightens up two hooks that catch onto the stud. You have a extendo leg there with, you can see, kind of ribbed sections, which basically let you adjust the height according to what you want. So that locks with a simple lock there. And the legs extend backwards under pretty decent pressure. I know, these things are impossible to film, guys. I hate it. All aluminum construction. The springs are pretty beefy. Everything seems to be nice and tight. Very serviceable. And the big thing is it going to provide you a stable platform? And yes, I've been kind of messing around with this, and this is definitely pretty stable. In fact, when you look at this is more stable than the stock. I mean, this thing, whoops, is not going anywhere. In fact, the only thing you're going to move is the stock because it's a free-floating barrel. So, you can twist and turn all day. It's not going anywhere, which is kind of cool. Very stable. These simple designs are often, sometimes, the best. So, it's definitely more stable when you have it down in the lower configuration. Once you bring it up a little bit, it is a little wobbly. There is a little slop in the legs due to that kind of ribbed thing. As I showed you, when these pop out, it has these ribbed sections that catch this piece of metal here. So of course there is a little bit of slop there. Now of course in a more expensive one, that slop's going to be greatly reduced because they're going to, instead of a piece of sheet metal catching it, it's going to be something that's going to fit into that slop directly. But when you are settled down, that slop isn't going to be as noticeable as what you're going to think. So another thing, guys, should your legs go forward or backwards? I grew up always putting the legs backwards, pointing towards you, and the idea being it was easy to pull them out. But my father-in-law always insisted they should go forward. He said it's easier to pull them back towards you than away. And also because if you're sitting there and you're pushing forward, it is less likely that it'll collapse. But I also said, but in this configuration, the recoil of the rifle makes it collapse. And, he converted me over to doing them kind of legs forward, but I was always a leg backwards kind of guy. But, I've tried it both ways. It doesn't seem to affect it. So, overall, this is really nice and stable. It's got good, strong legs. There's no snap in the joints. The joints actually hold very well. They lock in very well. They kind of have that thicker area here that works as a stop. So they come up against that, and the spring holds it in place. And it's a nice, strong spring. So, very stable legs. Like I said, the only thing that's really kind of hinky is the extension on there. And we'll pop this off real quick just to show you. This actually comes off and on very quickly. Alright. And you can see what you have is a couple of pieces of probably stamped sheet metal that come up through the hole there, and they clamp onto your stud, and then that screw tightens it up and adjusts it for you. Now you can see, tightening it up, it hasn't dug into the metal too much, so that must be, you can see where that little piece is riveted in there. They must have riveted in a piece of steel over the aluminum. Very smart on their part. I wish I could get in there with a file to check it, but it would seem odd they would rivet a piece of aluminum over aluminum. So my guess is that's a piece of hardened steel there to take the pressure, because even though I've cranked it down really hard, it hasn't done much except just take a little bit of the paint off. And you know, other than that, I'm not seeing any signs of any issues with it. You know, it could be beefier, but at 16 bucks, this is a very serviceable, range-friendly bipod that you could use for your rifle. I mean, overall, 16 bucks, I would absolutely buy, and I may buy one or two more of these just to kick around in the range bag, because this is actually not terrible for the money. It's not pivoting. It doesn't have any features whatsoever other than just being a stable platform. But as something for when I bring my nephews to the range, or, you know, my son or anything like that, I would have no problem slapping this on a 22 and using it, you know. When you have, I like to leave bipods on guns, you know, like hunting guns, I like to leave the bipods on. Certain guns, certain bipods, it just, you know, like it becomes a piece of the firearm, you get used to it. That muscle memory, all that stuff is kind of important to me. But overall, guys, I'm really happy with it. Check out the link in the description. It's, you know, for the little bit of money you pay for this, this is actually a lot of gear, which I'm kind of surprised. I expected, and I had an old, what is a UTG one years ago I reviewed, and I had to Loctite a whole bunch of the bolts, and you really had to crank it down with like, I mean, you had to crank it down with like a wrench to get it to tighten up enough. This thing right here, finger pressure is plenty to get this thing to tighten down hard. You know, I don't have to take a wrench to this at all. So overall, this is not bad, not bad at all for the money. You know, you got some little rubber pads here too to help hold the firearm and hold it steady. But overall, guys, not bad, and would definitely buy more of these.